Hey, what's up guys, Stiduous here on ESO, and today I'm on my nightblade, and I'm bringing you guys a build video on a Magicka nightblade, because many people are going stamina, but the melee build that was pretty much the heart of nightblade's last patch is pretty much gone in terms of Magicka, and a lot of people are switching to stamina, but for those of you who want to stay Magicka, I made a build just for that. So, I guess we'll get right into it. First off, my class. I guess we'll go over the character traits first. I'm a Wood Elf, and this gives me a huge boost. Let's go to the racial traits. As you can see, it gives me 21% stamina regeneration in combat. So this is huge for duels, and it's also really good when you're in open world, and it allows me to put more points into stamina, because I don't have to worry about my more points into Magicka, because I don't have to worry about my stamina since my regen's so high. It's at 862, which is pretty good for a Magicka build, considering the fact that I have no regen rings or anything. So yeah, I can focus more onto health and Magicka. As you can see, I'm pretty much of a glass cannon build. I have low health and I have a lot of Magicka, and you know, it's really good burst DPS. It's sustained, but it's not like really high. And the burst comes in with Merciless Resolve and our ultimate Soul Harvest. We'll get into that later. So I guess we'll just go over the skills now. And on my first bar, I have a Destro Staff. Second bar, I have a Resto Staff. So we go Destro, Resto, and a lot of people are going with the route of on your Destro Staff they use like weakness to elements and Force Shock, and I went a different route, and I went with Swallow Soul as my main DPS, and you know, instead of having two abilities just to make one ability good, I basically used Swallow Soul and added in Merciless Resolve. So what this does is this adds a huge burst that no one can ever really see coming. And you know, you're going to be doing Crippling Grasp and weaving light attacks in with your Swallow Soul, and whenever this procs, so you just have that set, and each light attack counts, and once you get 8 light attacks in, it'll proc, it'll turn purple, the ability on your bar will turn purple, and you can activate it again shooting a bow, and the bow does around 9k damage. The tooltip says that it does about 10k on the when I have all my buffs up, and I'll get into the buffs later, but right now it just says 8.7k, and it does about 9k to people who are wearing armor in Cyrodiil. So yeah, Crippling Grasp is a really good dot, and you know, that's just a good opener, and it immobilizes them, and it's just really strong. I recommend it. And my second ability, again, is Swallow Soul. So what this does, it increases my healing by 8%. You could go the other route, and it heals allies as well, but I went with the 8% healing because in open world, it helps my next ability, Sap Essence, a lot. It you know, gives me obviously 8% more healing on each person, so it's definitely good for Sap Essence. And this is good for 1v1 situations as well as in the group situations. And the reason why it's good for 1v1s is because it increases your spell damage by 20% for 20 seconds. So it's basically like entropy on steroids. So instead of increasing it by 20% for 12 seconds, it does it for 20 seconds. It's a lot better, and it also heals you per enemy hit. So it's really good no matter what the situation is, and you know, it's a really good skill. Fourth skill, Mass Hysteria. They buffed it in this patch. Instead of 2 people, it's 3, so it's basically the same thing, even better, reducing their damage by 15%, movement speed by 53% for 4 seconds, reduces theirs. So it's a really good ability, and it's definitely good for controlling people in open world. Whenever you come across 2 or 3 people, you can just fear them, target one person, burst him down, go on to the next one. Last ability, of course, is Merciless Resolve, and this is again good for just getting that burst in whenever it procs. Boom, shoot an arrow, 9k, and then boom, do your Soul Harvest, about 8k. So it's about a 17 to 16k burst depending on what armor they're wearing. If they're wearing heavy armor, it's probably going to hit them for like 14 to 15k, but it's still a very, very strong burst, and they will never see it coming. So our next bar, we're just going to swap. First thing, I have Quick Siphon, and that's in the Restoration Staff ability. And basically what this does is you can just put it on a target, and you get around 1k healing per attack, but it doesn't count for dots. So like if you dot someone, if you hit them with Crippling Grasp, it doesn't count for each tick, it only counts for the one impact. It's every time you attack the enemy, not every time your spells attack the enemy. So whenever you're weaving in light attacks, it's pretty much 2 attacks in one, because you light attack and Swallow Soul, so there's pretty much 2k healing every time you attack a target. And it's really good for open world, because you can put it on multiple people. Say you're fighting 3 or 4 people at a time, you can put on multiple people, and their Sap Essence is just crazy once you have Quick Siphon on, because you're getting pretty much 3 to 4k. Let's say you have 4 people on you, you'll be getting pretty much 4k healing every time you activate your Sap Essence, and on top of that, the heal. So it's really, really good if you combine the two of those. Also, it's really good for duels and 1v1s. Obviously, you can just get that healing every time you attack the person. So it's a very good skill for both situations. Next I have Harness Magicka, and this is actually swappable. So let's say if I'm dueling a person in stamina, so they're obviously not going to be doing any magic damage, so I'm going to swap that out for probably rapid regen to increase my healing even more. So on top of Quick Siphon and the Swallow Soul Heal, I'm also going to be having rapid regen, and it's going to be very difficult to get my health down even though I'm a squishy Nightblade. Next we have Healing Ward. It's just a very good ability no matter what. You know, of course it's not going to be good in group, so you're probably going to want to swap that out as well. So yeah, don't use that in a group because it's always going to go to pretty much another target. It rarely goes to you when you're in a group. But if you're going on your own, and if you're fighting, you know, people by yourself and you're not really with other people, it's a very, very good ability. And the next two are pretty much the best skills that Nightblades have. This is Dark Cloak, removing damage over time effects, and you know, you don't want to go with the crit morph, basically because if you're dotted, it won't work. Every tick the dot does is going to bring you out of cloak, so it's really unreliable. If you use the damage over time morph, it's a lot better. Here's probably the most useful skill in the game, Shadow Image. Of course, you teleport back to your target. The two Shades is not really a good morph. It's pretty much the same thing. It's good for stamina builds because, you know, whenever they go invis, people tend to block to prevent any crits or anything when people go invis. So when they block, it'll of course like completely drain their stamina. But I definitely recommend going Shadow Image just because the teleport is an awesome ability. It's epic, it looks sick, and it also helps you big time. So whenever you put that down and you're ever in a sticky situation, let's say you can put it on top of a rock and then hop down, fight some people. If you're ever in a sticky situation, just teleport to the shade and go invis. So that's a really good combination right here for getting in and out of situations. That's pretty much it for the skills. Of course, you want to go with all the passives possible. I don't have Restoration Staff leveled up just yet because I've been working on one-handed shield a lot. And you know, for the previous patch, and I wasn't really using Restoration Staff that much. It wasn't really leveling up. But yeah, Destruction Staff, I have all the passives. Although you don't really need them because all you're doing is pretty much just weaving in light attacks. So the only useful thing is restore the 2,800 Magicka, reduces the time it takes to charge, and none of these really make sense besides the 10% spell resistance, because these are based off of attacks. These two, I think, are based off of attacks, and not off of like, you know, your basic light attacks and heavy attacks. It's based off of like Force Shock and stuff. Destructive Touch is really bad for Shock Clench. Shock Clench used to disorient your targets and used to be a stun, but now even if you have the other morph, it really just does more damage to other enemies, which is not good at all, because it doesn't even do that much damage on a base, but then, you know, it's just doing like a slightly lower damage to enemies, and it's not good. So if you want to go Fire Staff and use Destructive Reach to knock them back, and you want to be that troll type of person who knocks people off a bridge, I guess you could go like that, but this is pretty much all I run. I only use the Destructive Staff for the light attacks and for kiting DKs, but you can test out with Destructive Touch and Force Shock if you want to. So now I'm going to go over the skills that you switch out. If I'm facing a stamina build, I'm obviously not going to use Harness Magicka, I went over that already, and I'll swap that out with Rapid Regen. But if I'm facing a Templar, this skill is useless, Quick Siphon, they can just purify it, so I'll go Rapid Regen here instead. And if I'm fighting a Stamina Templar, which is pretty hard, you know, they're going to be purifying my dots and my negative effects that I put on them. I'll swap these two out because they're pretty much useless, and I'll put on Rapid Regen and Mirage, which gives me armor on cast, and it also increases my dodge chance by 20%. So, you know, them hard-hitting Stamina Templars, you're going to have a chance to dodge those like attacks and uppercuts and whatnot. Ultimates, I go Soul Harvest on my Destro Staff bar. This is basically the hardest hitting ultimate that we have. Consuming Darkness is really not that good anymore because it's only 30% on you. It's not 60%. You know, they halved the damage reduction, so it's definitely not as tanky. Soul Tether is a really good ability for open world, but I have this slotted because during duels, this does almost 1k less damage, and this does just, you know, obviously 1k more damage. It's just that much more of a burst. Armor, I go all 6 light, but if you want to go into open world, it's probably recommended to go 2 heavy, just to get that extra tankiness in you, and to get that extra armor and spell resist. Because right now, I'm rocking 6k spell resist and only 3.6k physical resistance or armor. And it's really low, it's really squishy, but you can just rely on your you know, mobility in combat to use your stealth cloak and other stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for the skills, and I'm going to show you guys what my buffs do. So when I put this up, it gives me that 20% spell damage on top of the 8% damage increase that I get from this, and it increases everything by 28%, which is very, very good. Alright, so here I just have a few scorpions. What you're going to do is just activate your healing ability on a few of these guys, and then just sap essence these guys down. They pretty much won't even do damage to me. But once I kill these guys, it should give me the buff. As soon as you hit someone, it doesn't have to be a certain amount of people, it's just one person, and you know, it should activate that buff. So that's the 20%, and then on top of the 8%, and this will then hit for, again, 10k, which is pretty impressive, and this hits for almost 5k, and it's free. It's a free ability. It only costs 1,000 Magicka, which is a very low amount of my Magicka, and this hits for 8,500. So it's a very good ability. It's a very good burst. And it's sustained DPS with the Swallow Soul, and as soon as your Merciless Resolve procs, you just hit it again, and it'll shoot that bow, hitting them from almost 10k, and then you just come in there and pop that ultimate on them, and they will have no idea what hits them. One last thing is my armor. I want to show you guys what set pieces I run. I go 2-piece Torx Pact, 1 on the hat, and 2 on my staves. And what this does is I'll have the 2 set piece no matter what staff I have out. And then here you could go 4-piece martial knowledge, but I ended up going 2-piece adroitness and 2-piece on the rings Cyrodiil's light. But I would recommend just going 4-piece martial knowledge on the armor, and then this will give you room for 2 warlock pieces and 3 warlock rings. The reason why I went with the vet 6 rings and the 2 pieces is because I just didn't have the gold at the time to increase 4 martial knowledge pieces to purple. So what I did is I swapped out my V1 rings because you know, the V6s are obviously going to be better. The stats that you get is going to be better than the ones that you get with the V1s. And as you can see, the Magicka game with the V1s is only about like 5k, and then this, when I have all in the armor, it's 7.2k. So it's just a better. It was better for me, but you know, if you already have the V12 rings, or if you just simply don't really care about swapping them out, you can just go 4-piece martial knowledge. But I go 2-piece adroitness, 2-piece Cyrodiil's light. It's the same spell damage no matter what you do, but that's pretty much it. So Torx Pact, adroitness, Cyrodiil's light, and warlock. All very good set pieces, and it increases my spell damage. I had mine at 1731. But the reason why I did that is because I don't have much regen, and I have 2 Magicka recovery glyphs on these rings to help my regen. Because, I mean, it's only 1.1k, and it doesn't really affect me that much because my DPS is only 1k. My main DPS only costs 1k, so it's not that big of a deal. But whenever you're low, it's always good to have good regen. But if you have good regen, like say if you're a high elf or something, and you have a pretty good amount of spell or Magicka recovery, I would recommend just going all spell damage so you can hit even harder. You'll end up getting it to about 1850 if you go all damage in the rings. But yeah, 59 spell damage on the warlock ring, or warlock focus, and then I have 52 recoveries on the rings. That's pretty much it. I might be doing a video in open world and in duels to show you guys a demonstration of this build, and if you'd like to see that, please comment down below. But other than that, it's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.